This page is the front cover of the magazine and it's shouting about Colin McRae Rally 2.0, with a world-exclusive reveal of all the full specs, a must-read for any racing fan. Virtua Tennis is also highlighted as Sega's new sports game, being called a smash hit. We've got a peek at some gameplay screenshots. F1 World Grand Prix 2 is questioned, asking if video systems have found the right formula, which is intriguing to see what they think. And then there's Unreal Tournament. They reckon they've got this online shooter in their sights, suggesting a preview or feature on that. Down at the bottom, under Plus, Warrant, they're mentioning a load of other games to look out for, including Sydney 2000, Deep Fighter, Time Stalkers, Tokyo Highway Challenge, Maken X, Planet of the Apes, Fortress, MSR and loads more, so it seems like a packed issue. There's also a shot of that Unreal Tournament character, holding a weapon, looking rather imposing, and they're giving away £1,000 worth of prizes, so definitely an issue you wouldn't want to miss back in the day. This page is the contents page, but it's also doubling up as an advert for Gauntlet Legends. You can see a lass in a bikini lounging about. They're pushing the action and relaxing vibe, and multiplayer fun. Apparently there are 36 levels and subquests, plus 9 characters, including 4 of the arcade classics. Looking at the contents on the right, they're still banging on about Colin McRae Rally 2.0, promising the full specs and saying Codemasters has nailed the 4-wheel drive feel. There's an arcade special feature too, with screenshots of classics like Silent Scope, Daytona USA, and Sega Rally 2. They've got a section called Park Life, which might be about arcades themselves or the arcade scene, and a Red Hot Games bit that sounds like quickfire reviews. And then DC Online is featured, talking about online gaming and how it's becoming a reality, with a choo-choo rocket image that's probably related to online play for that. There's also mention of winning Joytech peripherals, and some kind of timer at the top. This page is an advert for a cheat service called Cheats Unlimited, promising tips and walkthroughs for over 3,000 games. They've got a couple of phone numbers you can ring for cheats, one for over 16s and another for under 16s. There's a long list of games they supposedly cover, everything from aero dancing to zombie revenge. They're pushing cheats for all sorts of consoles, not just the Dreamcast but Game Boy Color, N64, PC, PlayStation, PlayStation 2 and Saturn 2. At the bottom it's got a website address and a customer service number. On the right side of the page, it looks like we've got the contents for this issue again. It's issue 11 of Dreamcast Magazine. They're reviewing Marvel vs. Capcom 2, giving it a solid 78%, and Metropolis Street Racer, which scores a much lower 42%. Unreal Tournament gets a decent 86%. The contents list shows sections on forecasts, Time Stalkers, Aerowings 2, Magforce Racing, Deep Fighter, Tokyo Highway Challenge 2, MSR, Sydney 2000, F1 Racing Championship, Virtua Tennis, and Maken X. Then there are features on Colin McRae Rally 2.0 and an arcade special, plus Park Life and Red Hot Games. Looks like the usual reader reviews, DC Online, Dreamcast Solutions, and Resident Evil sections are in there too. Rounding it off are regular bits like Directory, Stuff and Nonsense, Dream On, Subscriptions, and Dream Moment. The next page is all about Unreal Tournament coming to the Dreamcast. Looks like they're calling it the king of them all. It's a preview piece, clearly very excited about it, especially the online multiplayer, which they say is going to get a serious kick up the arse. They reckon it's going to be a real systems seller, and address any concerns about the Dreamcast being just a beat MUP machine. Borington no. They've highlighted a few of the game modes in a sidebar called Game On, Terraca, mentioning Team Deathmatch, Last Man Standing, Capture the Flag, Domination and Assault. There's also a little information box giving us the publisher as Infogrames, developer as Epic Mega Games, and saying it's about 40% complete with a massive 85% anticipation rating, so hype is definitely building. Down the right side in big issues, they've teased some of the other articles in this issue, including Planet of the Apes on page 12, Le Mans on page 24, Deep Fighter on page 38, Sydney 2000 on page 44, and Virtua Tennis on page 48. Plenty to look forward to then. The Dreamcast news includes rumours of Sunken Treasure being on hold, Lara Croft potentially returning, and a new survival horror game, Headhunter. Sega might release a region-free Dreamcast in Asia. Virtua Cop 3 is rumoured. First Look highlights Skies of Arcadia, a grand RPG adventure. The game features airships, continents, and pirates, with main characters Vice, Ica, and Fina. Update focuses on Ultimate Fighting Championship, with a focus on the ultra-violence. Anchor Inc., comprised of talent from Tekken 2 and Soul Edge, is developing the game. Resident Evil Code Veronica tops the Dreamcast charts, Sega is partnering with Motorola to create Java-enabled mobile gaming with games like Sonic. Paragon Publishing advertises its gaming magazines. This page gives us a first look at Snowcross Championship racing for the Dreamcast, titled with a bit of a pun, It's Snow Joke. It's a snowmobile racer, and they reckon if you thought Dreamcast racers were lacking originality, this one will change your mind. Apparently, there's championship racing, hill climbing and head-to-head modes, and you can buy new parts for your Skidoo as you progress. Tracks are set around the world in places like Japan, Colorado and Germany. They reckon it's graphically impressive and fun, even if it is just motorcycling on skis. Torsche. Below that, there's a power-up section announcing Eidos will be publishing Power Stone 2. It's mentioned that Power Stone 1 was a launch title and hailed as a great Dreamcast game, so the sequel is welcome news and due before the end of the year. Then there are Hot Bites and Cold Cuts sections. Hot Bites talks about the team playing Virtua Tennis and being really impressed, calling it one of the most beautiful games ever. They also mention enjoying online gaming and mention getting their backsides whipped at Choo Choo Rocket and looking forward to Quake 2E and Half-Life. Cold Cuts mentions Simon's traveling, and again, Virtua Tennis and Choo Choo Rocket get a mention as being totally absorbing. They also touch on how good recent games have been, name-dropping Jet Set Radio, Mr. Driller, and MSR, and saying they are looking forward to more great games. Dreamcast fans have a lot to look forward to. Sanity, Aiken's Artifact, a sci-fi RPG from Fox Interactive, puts players in the shoes of Agent Kane, a psionic tasked with saving the universe. Fox is also releasing Planet of the Apes, an adventure game based on the original films, promising exploration and familiar characters. A sequel to Ferrari F355 Challenge is in development by Yu Suzuki's team, potentially hitting arcades before Dreamcast. Finally, the ad for Resident Evil Code, Veronica, calls it a must-have, promising an unrivaled gaming experience. Dreamcast Magazine Issue 11 previews several upcoming games. Game Room from Sierra is a collection of table games with online play planned for autumn. Climax's Ill Bleed, a survival horror title, promises scares with heartbeat monitoring. Dark Angel, Vampire Apocalypse, positions itself as the first proper vampire hunter game with swordplay, magic, and a branching narrative. Metropolis Street Racer is delayed to September for polish. Atlas's Disperia Shocker features mind-based combat and a conflict between factions. Jet Set Radio and Mr. Driller missed deadlines for import reviews, while Simon is excited for Colin McRae Rally 2.0. Vatical Entertainment announces System Shock 2, the next Tetris, and Sea-Doo Hydrocross are coming to the Dreamcast. This page features a first-look preview of Gorka Morka for the Dreamcast, revealing details from Ripcord. It sounds like a right laugh. Described as a bizarre title, with online play planned for later in the year. They're saying it's a vehicle combat game where you can switch between gunner and driver, a bit like Demolition Racer meets Mad Max. Apparently, you can even upgrade your AI partner. The right-hand side is an advert for the Nomad Soul, boasting about being the ultimate out-of-body experience. It's an action-adventure game with a proper pedigree, featuring an original soundtrack by David Bowie and Reeves Gabrels. Looks quite moody, from the screenshots and box art shown here. Published by Eidos, so you know they mean business. The Dreamcast release schedule reveals a standard mix of upcoming games across the UK, Japan, and the US. Fortress. Storming the Fortress, a puzzle game blending Worms and Tetris with time progression from Stone Age to Space Age, is slated for an October release by Promethean Designs. Sword and the Stone. Legend of the Blade Masters Dreamcast Bound, a fantasy RPG, features a quest for magic blades with online play potential, offering classic fantasy gameplay. Finally, Cops and Robbers, World's Scariest Police Chases, based on the American TV show, promises chaotic arcade action with over 50 missions, diverse play modes, and a large arsenal of weapons. This issue of Dreamcast Magazine starts with competitions, including a chance to win game guides and tickets to a concert. The News Jap section covers a potential Japan-only horse racing sim. A concerning article, SNK Sinking, reports Senk's withdrawal from American and European markets. The magazine features more competitions, giving away DJ equipment and concert tickets. Sega Shuffle details Sega's renaming of its development divisions. Import Charts reveals the top Dreamcast games in Japan and the US, with Sakura Wars and Space Channel 5 topping their respective charts. Tambourine Man introduces Samba de Amigo, a music game. Finally, Broadcast News announces Sega's partnership for broadband internet in Japan, promoting high-speed connections for online Dreamcast gaming. This page is an advertisement for the Dreamcast game Wacky Races, based on the classic cartoon. It features Penelope Pitstop in her pink car and Dick Dastardly and Muttley in their mean machine. The tagline is, "Be nice, show your competitors the best shortcuts," which is a bit cheeky for Dastardly, isn't it? You can see some screenshots showing the colourful cartoon-style gameplay, and it's also being pushed for the Game Boy Color. Seems like Infogrames are bringing this retro cartoon racer to a new generation on both Dreamcast and handheld. This page is all about a new racing game coming to the Dreamcast. It's called Le Mans 24 Hours. Looks like they're really pushing the endurance racing angle, saying it's the most extreme endurance race. They're banging on about realism, how you'll be racing day and night, and they're even promising variable weather effects, mentioning rain specifically. The screenshots look pretty good for the time. You can see races at different times of day, and even some night racing with headlights blazing. They're saying the graphics are top-notch, especially the lighting and spot effects, and it's all shaping up to be a tidy-looking racer. Game modes mentioned are your usual arcade, championship, time trial and multiplayer, but also something called Heure du Mans, which sounds like the full 24-hour race itself. They reckon it's going to be a proper racer. Fast, smooth and stunning, and possibly even better than the Ferrari F355 challenge game, which is high praise indeed. They're saying it's going to be one of the finest racing games, if it lives up to the hype. The Dreamcast may be getting some PC ports, including the gritty action game Max Payne. Set in a violent New York, players take on the role of an undercover DEA officer battling the mafia. The preview highlights the game's brutal violence and action-packed gameplay, suggesting it's a good fit for the console. Other potential ports include Neverwinter Nights, a role-playing game with sword fights and monsters, and Sheep, a quirky puzzle game where alien sheep try to escape their ship's wrath. The article also mentions two competitions. One offers Sleepy Hollow DVDs for correctly identifying the book's author. The other gives away Batman-themed prizes to those who can name 8 of Batman's villains. This page previews 3 Dreamcast games and a strange popcorn advert. First, Timey Kangaroo Down is a platformer from Titus, featuring a boxing kangaroo named Dennis, with gameplay similar to Rayman. It promises 5 worlds, 25 levels, and diverse enemies. Next is DC Goes BC, a game based on the Disney film Dinosaur, developed by Sandbox Studios and published by Ubisoft. Players control 3 dinosaurs in a puzzle-solving adventure. Finally, Waterworld Hydrosport Racing from Promethean Designs aims to rival Hydro Thunder, with realistic water physics and 20 boat choices. The page also includes a bizarre handwritten advert from Trevor, complaining about the number of popcorn pieces in Popsy microwave popcorn. This page showcases a couple of Dreamcast titles and a Razer advert. First up is a first look at Tropico, a quirky city-building game where you play as El Presidente, ruling your own island paradise. The preview highlights the game's focus on keeping the islanders happy and balancing tourism with your own dictatorial ambitions. It mentions the depth of management options beyond just building, including considering the needs of your population. Next we have another first look at Heavy Metal, FAKK2. The article is cheekily titled, Lara Croft, Pa, and suggests that FAKK2 is raising the bar for female characters in games. It's a PC game being ported to the Dreamcast, starring a lady called Julia, in a very revealing outfit, and promises plenty of mature action with dismemberment and monster enemies. The preview mentions its unique two-handed fighting system and variety of weapons, placing it as a hardcore action-adventure game with puzzle elements. Lastly, there's a full-page advert for the Gillette Mach 3 razor, boasting about less drag, less pull, less irritation, and its streamlined DLC Comfort Edge blades, completely unrelated to gaming. Time Stalkers, a Dreamcast adventure game with RPG elements, is being finalized by Climax for the UK release. Inspired by Landstalker and Ladystalker, the game features swords, magic, character leveling, and magical weapons. Randomly generated maps ensure a unique experience each playthrough, with adjustable camera angles. Players will navigate 9 dungeon levels, encountering tougher enemies on higher floors and interacting with numerous characters. The game promises humor and boasts bright, clear graphics. The story begins with the hero, Sword, transported to a shifting, unfamiliar land. Previewers give it a Platinum Players rating, with high anticipation. The game is described as an interesting RPG appealing to adventure fans, possibly challenging Final Fantasy. Screenshots showcase character stats, a minimap, and conversation scenes, further highlighting the game's detailed scenery. The next page showcases Aerowings 2, Airstrike, a sequel that addresses the first game's lack of weaponry, thankfully adding lead shot and explosive weapons. It's being previewed here, and they are calling it a flight sim where you can blow to smithereens anything bigger than a sparrow, which is a bit of a laugh. They are impressed with the visuals, calling them minty visuals and softography, and saying the Dreamcast power is being used to full effect for beautiful skies and detailed planes. The preview mentions you can choose from 25 different planes, ranging from old propeller planes to modern jets, and head into 30 missions in a Top Gun style. They also mention free flight mode, if you fancy a chill out. The physics are touted as realistic with deeper gameplay than your average flight game, promising appeal for the average gamer. There's a rewind feature highlighted, instant replay for when you miss the action. They've got a Dreamcast anticipation rating box, with a CEP month and a 90% complete percentage. Publisher is listed as Crave Entertainment and developer as Cree, with one player. There is also a green advert for barrysworld.com, calling it the dedicated online service for serious gamers. This page delves into the realm of racing games, showcasing two very different beasts. First up is Magforce Racing, a futuristic racer that's clearly trying to capture that Wipeout vibe on the Dreamcast. They're pitching it as a fast-paced, power-up fueled affair, with crazy vehicles and tracks that let you use the walls to your advantage. It sounds like they're emphasizing the competitive aspect, with a quote proclaiming, "Nothing about Magforce Racing is about sportsmanship, everything here is about winning." The screenshots show these futuristic vehicles zipping around some colorful, abstract tracks. It's got an anticipation rating section noting it's for October, published by Crave Entertainment and developed by VCC Entertainment, and is 80% complete. Then, switching gears entirely, we have Four Wheel Thunder. This is an off-road racer, and it's being touted as a Dreamcast exclusive, available in May 2000. The tagline is, "The premier all-terrain racing game for the Dreamcast," and it's boasting over 60 vehicles, 24 detailed tracks with weather effects, and a smooth 60 frames per second in both single and two-player modes. You can even customize your vehicles. The screenshots show some rugged off-road trucks kicking up dust in desert environments, a proper contrast to the sleek futurism of Magforce Racing. It's published by Midway and developed by Callisto Entertainment. Looks like a solid offering for those who prefer mud and grit to futuristic circuits. This page showcases Deep Fighter, a game that's taking us deep underwater on the Dreamcast. It's touted as a behemoth of a game, developed by Criterion, those chaps behind Trickstyle. They describe it as an underwater adventure of epic proportions, with the depths of the oceans being a dangerous and mysterious place. Apparently, you are part of a great subaqua colony facing a crisis, and you must deal with volcanic eruptions, pirates, and sea monsters. The game's scope is described as huge, packed with missions, with 5 acts of 6 missions each. There are some gameplay snippets shown, one highlight setting out for the Mutha jellyfish, promising a surprise. Another talks about sub-tuning before missions, allowing you to check your sub and functions. They even have a bit called Hey Skipper referencing commander roles in early 80s TV shows. The article mentions, the game is mission-based, but allows free roaming in the ocean, encountering enemies around reefs and caves. Graphically, it's looking impressive, especially the ocean with its life and enemy subs. It's slated for release in less than 2 months, and looks to be a strong addition to the Dreamcast library, blending underwater adventure and mission-based action. The Dreamcast Magazine Anticipation Rating gives it an ORG rating, published by Ubisoft, developed by Criterion, single-player, and 85% complete. This page features a preview of Tokyo Highway Challenge 2, the follow-up to the original Dreamcast racer. They're saying it's aiming to be bigger and better than the first game. It seems they've kept the core concept of cruising Tokyo highways and racing rivals, but with improved graphics, thanks to higher polygon counts and better physics. They're boasting over 300 rivals, and a massive 180 miles of realistically rendered Tokyo highway, which is a fair jump up from the first game. It's being developed by Genki, and published by Crave Entertainment. Dreamcast Magazine's anticipation rating is set for September, with the game being 90% complete at the time of writing. Alongside this preview is a full-page advert for Echo the Dolphin, Defender of the Future. It's being billed as a stunning underwater odyssey, and is set for a Europe-wide release from the 16th of June. The advert mentions it stars Echo the dolphin alongside sharks, whales, and numerous other sea creatures, and highlights Appaloosa Interactive as the creators, with direction by Gurgely CSA Sazar and music by Tim Follin. Metropolis Street Racer, MSR, is a racing game for the Dreamcast, lauded despite the console's existing racing game library. Developed by Bizarre Creations, it focuses on fun over realism, featuring authentic cars from brands like Mazda and Alfa Romeo, and tracks set in famous cities like San Francisco, Tokyo, and London. The game emphasizes a sense of driving through these cities, with detailed recreations of landmarks. MSR boasts impressive graphics, utilizing the Dreamcast's power for smooth visuals. The game includes various modes such as Time Attack and Versus, with around 40 circuits and 4-player support. The article highlights the game's graphics and car models, with an estimated release around September, suggesting it's a must-have title. Previous games by Bizarre Creations include Fur Fighters and Formula 1. Katacha. The next page showcases Sydney 2000, a Dreamcast title aiming to capture the Olympic spirit. It's billed as a sports action game for the Dreamcast, reminding us to warm up our fingers ready for some button bashing. The article highlights the game's varied events, from standard track and field to swimming, javelin, and even kayaking, promising plenty to keep you occupied. They mention 2 main game modes, an arcade mode for quick play, and an Olympic mode for a longer, more structured experience, where you even have to train in the gym before qualifying for events. Graphically, they say Sydney 2000 is looking polished with attention to detail, and while acknowledging it's not fully finished, they were impressed by the sheer amount of content. There's a section called Gym'll Fix It, describing gym-based training exercises, and Olympic Glory, praising the game's graphics and use of camera angles to recreate the Olympic Stadium atmosphere. Going for Gold details the 2 main game modes further, and Down Under playfully notes the game's release timing around the actual Sydney Olympics. An info burst box points out you can choose from 32 countries, including the usual suspects like USA, Russia, Great Britain, and Australia, making it a truly international affair. The Dreamcast Magazine Anticipation Rating gives it an org rating, with publisher Eidos, developer attention to detail, 4 players supported, and currently 80% complete, suggesting it's nearing release and is one to watch out for. This page showcases a preview for Formula 1 Racing Championship from Ubisoft, their second crack at an F1 game, aiming to be better than Monaco GP. They reckon with video system backing them they might just nail it. It's highlighted as having the official FIA license, meaning all the proper teams, drivers, and 16 circuits, which is a big step up. The preview mentions 2 main game modes, Arcade and Championship, catering to different playstyles. They're keen on the training mode too, pointing out the skid marks on the track help guide you, like a driving instructor telling you the best racing lines. The article quotes, "With an official license, F1 Racing Championship should be a beast of a game, so they're clearly confident." Over on the right, there's a colourful advert for Walt Disney World Quest, Magical Racing Tour. It's a kart racer, featuring Mickey Mouse, Chip and Dale, and other Disney characters racing around Disney World locations, like Space Mountain and Blizzard Beach. It's promoting a competition to win a holiday to Walt Disney World Resort in Florida, which sounds pretty tempting. You race through 13 different Disney World tracks, and can play single or multiplayer to unlock secrets. Eidos is publishing it, and it's out on Dreamcast and PlayStation. The next page dives into Virtua Tennis, and it's causing quite a stir, being touted as the tennis game to beat. Sega's bringing the popular arcade hit to the Dreamcast and they've really beefed it up. It's more than just a straight port, with a whole host of extra features to explore. They're clearly excited about the gameplay and graphics, calling them addictive and divine. There's talk about the World Circuit mode, where you can travel the globe, with extra characters hidden in shops dotted around this mode. Apparently Tesla, Costa Ventura and others join the roster alongside the arcade regulars like Henman, Courier and company. The preview mentions minigames like Crazy Taxi, Smashbox, Pin Crasher, Drumbox, and Alien Attack to hone your skills and add to the fun, which sounds like classic Sega silliness. There are extra courts and locations too, spanning England, America, France, Germany and Russia. The review quotes are glowing, calling it superb and lifelike. Screenshots showcase the in-game action and the world map interface, plus a glimpse of one of the minigames in action. Sections titled, All Around the World, detail accessing courts worldwide, and shopaholic hints at buying new players, partners, shirts and racket strings. It's shaping up to be a must-have sports title for the Dreamcast. This page offers a glimpse into the upcoming title Maken X. It's billed as a first-person slasher, quite a departure from your typical shooter. You play as Maken, or Devil Sword, a genetically engineered life form that can brainjack people and control their bodies. Bit of a wild concept. The story involves terrorists, a secret weapon, and a daughter who ends up wielding a sword in self-defense and brainjacking enemies, known as brainjacking. Apparently there are 24 characters to control throughout the 20 levels, with a focus on dark and mysterious environments and sword combat. The previews are certainly talking it up, suggesting the swordplay is almost Jedi-like, and it's shaping up to be a novel experience. The "Use the Force, Luke" tagline is a bit on the nose, referencing the lightsaber comparisons for the Maken sword. The right side of the page is a simplygames.com advert. They're flogging Game Boy Colors for £49.99 each, and Pokemon games Yellow, Blue and Red for £19.99 each. You can order from their website or give them a ring. The next page is looking at F1 World Grand Prix 2 for the Dreamcast. It seems like Video System are back with a follow-up to their previous F1 title. This preview piece talks about how the new game builds upon the original, making it more accessible to newcomers while still keeping the depth for seasoned F1 fans. They mention the graphics are improved and crisper. There's talk about new features like broadcast mode, where you can direct the camera angles like a TV producer, and a gallery mode. They've also added tutorial options, and even named all the corners on the tracks, which is a nice touch for learning drivers. UGs. The article highlights that they've listened to feedback from the previous game, addressing concerns about the control system being too responsive, making it difficult to handle. They say this has been improved, making the game more user-friendly. There's a section called the Learning Curve, focusing on the tutorial mode, suggesting it's designed to really help players understand braking and cornering techniques. Mr. Director section explains the broadcast mode. Gameplay highlight box mentions the replays are lifelike and 6 camera views are offered, and the in-car view is exhilarating. Overall, it sounds like they're aiming to make F1 World Grand Prix 2 a more rounded and enticing game than its predecessor, focusing on both speed and accessibility. The F1 World Grand Prix 2 preview highlights a new gallery mode with detailed car and team profiles, and improved AI opponents. Screenshots showcase enhanced pit stops, Monaco street racing, and podium celebrations. The game promises significant improvements in graphics and gameplay, aiming to please F1 enthusiasts upon its September release. The page also features an advertisement for Closet Gamer, a website offering thousands of cheats, walkthroughs, and other gaming resources for multiple consoles and PC. They also have competitions like a Dreamcast giveaway, with a phone number to call for a chance to win various prizes. Closet Gamer offers online gaming, a forum, and a hotline for support. A list of online games across various genres is also provided. The next page kicks off with Dreamcast Diary Part 1, focusing on Black and White, from Peter Molyneux and Lionhead Studios, a highly anticipated PC title being converted to the Dreamcast. They're discussing the conversion process, highlighting the challenges of bringing this ambitious game to the Dreamcast from the PC, especially in terms of creature animation. Apparently in multiplayer your creature can interact with other players' villages in a rather direct manner. There are screenshots showing the game's landscapes and creatures, demonstrating the visual style they're aiming for. On the right side of the page is an advert for Screenbeat SoundStation speakers, boasting 300 watts of sound for PlayStation, Dreamcast and multimedia, PCS. They're pushing the wraparound sound and saying it's a must-have audio upgrade for gamers. They've even got review quotes praising the sound quality for games like Resident Evil 2, Wipeout 3, and Final Fantasy V2i. You could get them from places like Comet, Dixon's, and HMV, back in the day. The next page is all about Colin McRae Rally 2.0, smack bang in the middle of development for the Dreamcast. It's a preview piece, and they're clearly excited about it, calling it the ultimate rally experience coming to the Dreamcast. Codemasters are the developers, and they are promising it's going to be even better on the Dreamcast than other formats. The article talks about how it's rare to get excited about driving games these days, but this one's different. They mention the buzz around the upcoming release, hinting it's going to be something special, and a step up in rally driving on the Dreamcast. There's a good-sized screenshot of the Ford Focus rally car, showing off the graphics, plus smaller in-game shots showing the rally action. The standout quote they've highlighted is saying, Colin McRae Rally 2.0 will undoubtedly give new meaning to rally driving on the Dreamcast, so they're setting expectations pretty high. It mentions the original Colin McRae rally game, and how it caught the imagination alongside Gran Turismo back in the day, positioning this sequel as a big deal. This article previews the Dreamcast version of Colin McRae Rally 2.0, emphasizing its commitment to realistic car physics and stunning visuals. Codemasters is recreating car behavior in minute detail, with impressive graphics shown in screenshots featuring diverse environments. The developers are confident in the game, with quotes proclaiming it the best driving game ever, and are working to match the PC version's quality. An interview with producer Guy Wilday reveals the Dreamcast version is progressing smoothly, possibly with enhancements. The article highlights the game's competitive edge and the previous game's success, which sold 1.7 million copies. The Dreamcast version is being touted as the definitive version, exceeding in both looks and gameplay intensity. This page continues the look at Colin McRae Rally 2.0 on the Dreamcast, and it's all about the nitty-gritty details of track design and car modeling. They're really emphasizing how much work goes into making the tracks, showing off wireframe renders of the environments. It's mentioned that the car designs are so detailed you can even read the logos on the livery, and the replay angles are numerous, which is always welcome. There's a quote about how thrashing the famed Ford Focus around the desert track of Kenya was heavenly, really selling the experience. The mud bath feature is discussed, confirming it will be the same as the PlayStation version with all cars and tracks, boasting over 80 courses set across 8 countries with Nicky Grist barking instructions as your co-driver. They list a few of the cars, including the Ford Focus, Lancia Stratos, Mini Cooper S, Mitsubishi Lancer, Subaru Impreza and Toyota Corolla, and say there will be 21 in total. In the Top Gear section, they're still figuring out the Dreamcast specific features, but online play is a definite possibility, and they might even throw in extra cars. The anticipation rating is still TBA, with the game at 50% complete, but the final word is that it's shaping up to be a genre-defining game. Sounds like they're really pushing the boat out with this one. This article celebrates the enduring appeal of the arcade experience, focusing on a visit to Sega Park. The author fondly remembers the unique atmosphere and social aspects of arcades, especially the LAN gaming era, with titles like Daytona USA2 and Spikeout. The thrill of competitive fighting games, such as Marvel vs. Cap.com and Soul Calibur, is also highlighted. The article then introduces the team participating in the Sega Park Challenge, each with their favorite arcade games. The competition details in Round 1 features Sega Rally 2 with a score table. Round 2 covers World Kicks, a football game. The final section, the rules, outlines arcade etiquette and the challenge's points system. Ultimately, the article aims to demonstrate that a trip to the arcade remains a fantastic experience for gaming and socializing. This page covers rounds 3 and 4 of the arcade challenge and the final round. Round 3 is Silent Scope, described as a fantastic game on its way to the Dreamcast, noting you'd need some practice. It mentions different team members playing, aiming for high scores in story mode, and choosing the stadium full of innocent people level. There's a bit of humor about Nick being distracted by the pretty lady in the game. Round 4 is Daytona 2, going back to grassroots with a quick blast on this old-school racing game. It highlights the beginner track and a 4-player mad rush for the finish line. It also mentions Mart screaming ahead, Marte. Finally, we've got Virtua Tennis as the final round. It's said to be a favorite at the office, and they had to use the arcade version. We get the semi-final results. Alex beat Martin in a close 30 set, and Simon beat Nick. Then the final was Alex versus Nick, described as less epic than previous matches, with Alex eventually winning 32 after Nick was distracted. The final scores are listed, and it's noted that Alex was crowned King of the Arcades, possibly due to crisp £10 note bribes. It ends with thanks to the Bournemouth Sega Park. This Dreamcast review roundup features scores and opinions on several games. NHL 2K earns a 76%, praised for its fun despite being American-focused. South Park Rally scores 72%, offering karting fun for fans. Bust-A-Move 4 gets an 83%, a familiar puzzle game. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 receives a 78%, lauded as a solid 2D beat-em-up. Import reviews highlight Super Runabout at 84% and Rainbow Six at 86%, the latter praised for its tension. The Dream Team selects their Game of the Month picks: The Invisible Man in GTA 2, James Bond in For Your Eyes Only, Pee-wee from Porky's in NBA Showtime, NBA vs. NBC, and Leon in Mr. Driller. A Dreamcast scoring system is provided, with 90% plus being Dreamcast Ultra, and anything below 50% best avoided. This page features a detailed review of Marvel vs. Capcom 2 from Dreamcast Magazine. It's hailed as an exceptional 2D beat-em-up, receiving a stellar Dreamcast Magazine rating of 89%. The review emphasizes the sheer amount of content, boasting over 1,000 beat-em-ups prior, and yet Capcom still delivers a fantastic experience. The reviewer, Simon Phillips, describes the game as blistering stuff and utterly bonkers due to its frenetic, non-stop action and massive roster of 56 characters, with 24 available from the start and another 32 unlockable through the secret factor shop. He highlights the intense speed, vibrant graphics with 3D backgrounds, and the outrageous special moves, mentioning Shoryuken to illustrate. The second opinion from Alex Warren reinforces the positive sentiment, calling it an absolute must for all beat-em-up aficionados. A small infoburst section mentions the use of VM units in Japan to swap unlocked characters in arcades. The review breaks down the scores into visuals, 80%, sounds, 70%, gameplay, 91%, and value, 85%. The Dreamcast Magazine rating concludes that Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is by far and away the best 2D beat-em-up ever to grace any console. Alternatively, Marvel vs. Capcom and Street Fighter Alpha 3 are suggested for fans of the genre. Screenshots showcase characters like Dr. Doom, Chun-Li, Mega Man, Venom, Captain America and Son Sesson in the midst of the fast-paced fighting action. It's clear from the review and the high score that this game is considered a top-tier title for the Dreamcast. South Park Rally on the Dreamcast, published by Acclaim and developed by Tantalus, is a kart racer that borrows heavily from its source material and other games like Mario Kart. The reviewer is on the fence about it, questioning its ability to compete with titles like Wacky Races. The game features standard modes like Championship, Arcade, and Multiplayer for up to 4 players. The humor is classic South Park, with sections like You Suck Ass, and gameplay elements such as fart powder speed boosts and the Cows Day level. The game includes memorable moments like plowing through cows. Multiplayer is highlighted as a strong point, featuring a battle mode where players burst each other's arses. The game, priced at £39.99, showcases iconic characters in go-karts and promises the expected South Park experience. This page continues the review of South Park Rally. They're talking about the dirty tactics you can use in the game, like the anal probe power-up, which sounds typically South Park, and hallucinatory images of Saddam Hussein. They mention the collectible power-ups, chocolate salty balls, and the fart powder speed boosts again, emphasizing the humor. It also mentions the Cows Day level and plowing through cows, plus other hazards like cows, snowplows and school buses getting in the way. There's a second opinion section which is less favorable, saying if you like South Park you might like it, but as a racer it's not great, despite the objective-based races being a novel idea at the time. They compare it unfavorably to Wacky Races, but concede it's not all bad. The review summary boxes, Jesus and Satan, list positives like plenty of stages, amusing samples from the show, and lots of characters. Negatives are dodgy handling, difficult sections, and unstructured level design. Visually, it scores 63%, sound 70%, gameplay 65%, and value 67%, giving it an overall DM rating of 63%. Final quote says it plays like other comedy races, and is a passable entry into the market, but hardly pushes the Dreamcast, although South Park fans will probably lap it up. They suggest it's an alternative to Pen and Wacky Races. The screenshots show in-game racing action, city environments, and the somewhat blocky but recognizable South Park characters. NHL 2K for the Dreamcast, published by Sega and developed by Black Box, is a sports game released in July, priced at £39.99. The game features the official NHL license, with all 28 teams and last season's players, and supports 4 players. This review highlights the game's fantastic player faces in the introduction and the authentic commentary by Bob Cole and Harry Neal. The reviewer praises the game's speed, excitement, and overall quality, comparing its appeal to ice hockey on the NES, but with significant improvements. The game includes exhibition, season, and playoff modes, alongside a creator-player option. The gameplay is described as brutally realistic with fantastic graphics. The review also notes the game's fighting mechanics, adding another layer of fun. Overall, the review is very impressed, emphasizing the game's great gameplay and realistic feel. 4. Dreamcast Magazine raves about NHL 2K, praising its stunning visuals, detailed player likenesses, and polished gameplay, free of slowdown or clipping. The review highlights the game's frantic, end-to-end action, realistic physics and various modes, including a robust Create Player feature. The sound, though generally good, suffers from repetitive commentary. The magazine staff enjoyed the competitive aspects, showcasing a mini-tournament. Despite some drawbacks like American sports appeal and tricky scoring, the review awards an 85% rating, calling it a fast, fun, and great game. They suggest it's one of the best sports titles on the Dreamcast, mentioning NBA 2K and NFL 2K as alternatives. This review of Bust-A-Move 4 for the Dreamcast is overwhelmingly positive. The reviewer praises the addictive gameplay, especially the two-player mode, and upgrades like the pulley system and bouncing bubbles. While lamenting the absence of a four-player mode, they highlight strong visual and audio scores, leading to an 88% for gameplay and an overall 84% DM rating. The review also includes humorous side notes, like a critical assessment of a Jar Binks lookalike character. Other sections offer gameplay tips and clear up any confusion about the game's identity. The reviewer recommends alternative puzzle games like Weetrix and Choo Choo Rocket, and includes screenshots showcasing the colorful gameplay. Overall, the review concludes that Bust-A-Move 4 is a worthwhile addition to the series. This page is an advert for gameplay. Looks like they're having an extended sale on Dreamcast games, a blanket price of £29.99 or less while stocks last, of course. They've got pictures of a few games. House of the Dead 2 is there, Virtua Striker 2, and if you look down the right there's a massive list, absolutely loads of Dreamcast games going cheap. Games like Aero Wings, Blue Stinger, Buggy Heat, Crazy Taxi, Deadly Skies, Deep Fighter and loads more are all listed at bargain prices. They're also flogging Dreamcast hardware, bundles and bits and bobs, keyboards for your Dreamcast, carry cases to lug your console about, VMUS, controllers, even proper arcade sticks and steering wheels for the racing fans, jump packs to feel the rumble, and VGA boxes for a better picture on your telly, plus all the cables you could need like SCART and AV leads. They are even advertising the Neo Geo Pocket Color handheld console on this page too. Looks like they're set up for mail order. With an order form here on the right, you can pay by check, postal order or card, and send it off. Good old gameplay. Super Runabout, a Dreamcast import, promised a mix of Crazy Taxi and GTA 2. The review, titled Runaway, found the concept promising with its numerous vehicles, varied missions, and large city inspired by San Francisco. However, the execution was severely flawed. The review slams the game's atrocious controls, poor graphics and excessive pop-up, even at a low frame rate. Collision detection also proved problematic. The Hideous Moments section highlights the extreme pop-up. The review mentions the original US release was called Felony 911, and included missions ranging from collecting hot dogs to ramming cars. The Dreamcast opinion section labeled the game's positives as good idea in theory, and loads of vehicles. Negatives included the worst pop-up ever seen, terrible sound effects, and a poor interface. The final score was a dismal 48%, suggesting players stick with Crazy Taxi or GTA 2 instead. This Dreamcast Magazine review focuses on the import title Rainbow Six. The game is lauded for its tactical, realistic gameplay, shifting away from run-and-gun action. The Dreamcast port, a near-carbon copy of the PC original, includes multiplayer, although the AI is occasionally flawed, and visuals are less impressive than the gameplay. Reviewer Will Johnston highlights the mouse and keyboard support. A second opinion from Martin Mathers criticizes the long loading times and questions the port's value, given the absence of split-screen or online multiplayer. Additional sections provide background on the Special Forces theme and tips on soldier equipment, emphasizing realism and stealth. The game receives a DEM rating of 78%, with strengths, SAS, in weapon physics and weaknesses, ARSE, in the AI's intelligence. Category scores are Visuals 78%, Sound 70%, Gameplay 75%, and Value 75%. The game was published by Majesco Sales Inc., developed by Red Storm Entertainment, and cost £50. This page showcases adverts and regular features from Dreamcast Magazine. At the top left, there's a large advert for South Park Rally, shouting, "Screw you guys, I'm driving home." It highlights hella cool racing action against characters like Cartman, Stan, Kyle, and Kenny. The advert mentions dozens of insane vehicles and sweet custom soundbites, and shows screenshots of gameplay featuring recognizable South Park characters and locations. It's available for Dreamcast, PC CD-ROM, PlayStation, and Nintendo 64. On the right side of the page, we have a section called Interact with a cartoon monster graphic and a win banner promoting Mad Catz peripherals on page 90. Below this is a section titled Stuff and Nonsense. 120. Advertising, more cool toys and great gadgets. Further down is Choo Choo Rocket. Online 94, excitedly announcing online play for this puzzle game. A smaller advert below says, Win! Joytech Peripherals page 101. At the bottom, there's a section called Regulars, the informative and fun bits that nobody should miss. This section lists several regular features with page numbers. Mailbox 90, Reader Reviews 92, Directory 114, Dream On 126, and Dream Moment 130. These are presumably recurring content sections within the magazine, covering reader letters, game reviews, a directory, and features called Dream On and Dream Moment. This mailbox section covers various Dreamcast inquiries. Sean Ralph asks about European release of colored peripherals, an MP3 player, music games, a faster modem, arcade games, and Soul Calibur 2. DM confirms colored peripherals are coming to the UK, the MP3 player is likely after Samba de Amigo, and Sega is focusing on broadband. Arcade games are planned, but no Soul Calibur 2 news. Tom Clark asks about American VMU compatibility, a DVD player, Dreamkey 2, Sonic Adventure 2, and a Sega GT motorbike game. DM confirms VMU compatibility, no DVD player, yet. Dreamkey 2 is coming soon, Sonic Adventure 2 is expected for Christmas 2000, and Ducati is the motorbike game. Other topics include a keyboard request, quick mentions of Code Veronica and Dreamcast excitement, a Star Wars lightsaber game inquiry, exam stress, disappointment with WWF attitude, a debate about Dreamcast versus PlayStation 2, criticism of UEFA Striker, and football game inquiries. Finally, Simply Games deals are highlighted, offering Dead or Alive 2 with a VMU and a Dreamcast console with a VMU at discounted prices. This page features reader reviews for Dreamcast games. James Smith raves about Resident Evil Code Veronica, 95%, praising its opening graphics and suspenseful gameplay. Marcus Antonsen surprisingly enjoyed Buggy Heat, 86%, finding it fun despite initial skepticism. Mark Keeley loved Sega Bass Fishing, 90%, highlighting its realism and lasting appeal. Gornal Bell also highly recommends Resident Evil Code Veronica, 96%, impressed by its graphics and showcasing the Dreamcast's capabilities. An advertisement on the page promotes Hidden and Dangerous for Dreamcast, calling it atmospheric and engrossing. Overall scores are given for games in the section, with the highest being 96%. The next page showcases the joys of online gaming on the Dreamcast, specifically for the utterly brilliant Choo Choo Rocket. It's a handy step-by-step guide, walking you through getting online and playing this chaotic puzzle game with others. It starts with booting the game, naturally, then navigating to the network option from the main menu. There's a bit about being patient while connecting, choosing your server 50Hz or 60Hz depending on your tele setup, naturally. Then you get to pick your server language and skill level area, from quick battle to beginners and experts. You'll be creating or joining chat rooms, then forming battle rooms to get a proper game going with up to 4 players. Finally, you pick your rocket color, and you're off. They even have some polite online play tips, like not resetting the game mid-match. Good manners online are key, and it seems Dreamcast Magazine are throwing down the gauntlet, inviting readers to play against them online every Thursday evening in the Beginners 1 room, under the room named Dreamcast Mag, so if you fancy a challenge against the team, that's where to find them. This guide helps Dreamcast users connect to the internet. It covers basic navigation using shoulder buttons for shortcuts like Home and Bookmark. The guide highlights various websites, Ben & Jerry's, with a competition, film sites, Lord of the Rings, X-Men, comedy sites, Mr. Monkey, Private Eye, and TV show sites, Mysterious Cities of Gold. Music fans are pointed towards blues artists like John Lee Hooker. A Weird Stuff section features odd websites, like a Garbage Pail Kids archive. Finally, a helpline offers game tips and cheats. The guide ends with a contest question, identifying the fake Ben & Jerry's ice cream flavor. This Dreamcast Magazine page highlights cheat codes for various games. Resident Evil Code Veronica offers character unlocks like Claire and Wesker, involving specific actions and items. NHL 2K features visual gags, including big head mode and hidden images of players. Dead or Alive 2 focuses on fan service, with camera control and a hidden cutscene. South Park Rally provides a long list of unlockable races by completing specific objectives. Four Wheel Thunder has a pause screen cheat and track unlocks. The classic cheats section covers Marvel vs. Capcom, with numerous characters to unlock through button combinations, and Virtua Striker 2, version 2000.1 shows how to unlock special teams and access bonus content. This Dreamcast gaming queue and a section addresses reader issues. Players seek cheat advice for Hydro Thunder, specifically the back button issue, WWF Attitude, unlocking modes and wrestlers, and MDK2, a cheeky response and a specific code. A reader struggles with Choo Choo Rocket. Stage Challenge C5. The section also advertises the Beat Mathers Challenge, a high-score competition with prizes for games like Crazy Taxi and Soul Calibur. Finally, it features a high-score heroes section where players can submit scores for a chance to win. An advertisement for Cheats Unlimited highlights a vast library of cheat codes for various Dreamcast titles. This page delves into Part 2 of a Resident Evil Code Veronica Guide. Last issue covered the Tyrant boss fight, and now it seems we are guiding Claire Redfield through another section of this survival horror classic. The walkthrough gives tips on navigating the dormitory area after escaping from the plane crash, mentioning zombies, poisonous moths, and giant spiders as enemies to watch out for. It highlights key items to collect like explosive bolt powder, bullets, first aid spray, a mining room key, detonator, and grenade launcher. There's advice on using the environment, like blowing up zombies with explosives in a weapon room, and tactical tips, such as using blue herbs for poison. The page also features screenshots, showing Claire exploring different areas and facing off against enemies. On the left there's a control layout reminder for the game, listing actions like moving, running, inventory access, shooting, map access, and aiming. It's a handy guide for players stuck in this part of Code Veronica, offering practical advice to survive the horrors ahead. The next page continues the Resident Evil Code Veronica Guide, moving on from the dormitory and into boss encounters and Chris's adventure. There's a section dedicated to taking down Nosferatu, advising players to keep their distance and use the sniper rifle on his heart, switching to explosive crossbow bolts if needed. It also mentions that you should have around 20 bolts left. Next up is the giant worm boss. This guide suggests keeping your distance again, using the rifle, and making sure you have green herbs handy to heal. It points out that the worm will cough up Rodrigo just before it dies, who will then hand over Claire's lighter. Finally, there's a brief introduction to Chris's adventure, explaining his reason for being on the island is to rescue Claire. It sets the scene as starting in the underground base, and mentions encountering an injured Rodrigo, who fills Chris in on Claire's situation and the giant worm she faced. The walkthrough continues in Resident Evil Code Veronica after the giant worm fight, starting in the garage. The player obtains the Luger, battery and rifle, navigating the hangar and battling poisonous spiders. The guide details using the battery on the cargo lift, obtaining the chemical storage key, and setting the fridge temperature to 12.8 degrees Celsius. Next, the player gets the doorknob, fights hunters, and finds assault rifle ammo and a shotgun. The guide directs the player to the first floor, retrieves the tank replica, and uses it to reveal a lever requiring 3 proofs. After getting the turntable key, and using the shotgun, a boss fight looms in the incubation tube room. The player will then use the turntable key, and can upgrade their handgun at the workshop, and combine Clement A and E to make a purple solution. This walkthrough for Resident Evil Code Veronica continues in Alfred's mansion. The player faces adult albinoids, advised to be defeated from a ledge with a shotgun. The guide then leads through the training facility, aquarium, and a bridge controlled by a button puzzle. The player collects items like the valve handle, blue gem, and brass fitting for item combinations. Puzzle solving involves a statue, a cracked floor, and a tiger statue to obtain blue and red eyes. The player also needs to combine the eagle shield with Clement E and a 4-dissolving fluid. Backtracking to the storage box and tank room is required. The fire extinguisher and Colt Magnum are also available. The guide suggests the Antarctic base is approaching, hinting at Chris Redfield's arrival. This page details the final showdown with Veronica Alexia in Resident Evil Code Veronica. It's the climactic boss fight. The guide kicks off, advising you to stock up on ammo, you'll definitely need it, and to keep your distance from Alexia. Apparently, Her blood flicks turn into flames. Nasty business. Running around to avoid her attacks is key. For weaponry, they suggest a long-range option like the grenade launcher, and specifically mention the linear launcher for the final blow. It looks like the fight involves manipulating consoles and using the emergency card, and they even give the passcode Veronica. Cheeky. The setting seems to move from cell areas up to a landing pad. There's talk of using the dragonfly key, glass orb, and various gems, red, blue and green, alongside the music box from Alfred's bedroom, which all ties back to puzzles from earlier. The guide also reminds you to grab any supplies. Green herbs and first aid sprays are a must before taking on this final challenge, and saving your game is a good shout too before facing Alexia's final mutated form, a right monstrous looking thing in the screenshots. Apparently, a well-aimed linear launcher shot straight into her belly is the way to win. Sounds like a proper finisher. Project K and Console King are advertising import video games and accessories, focusing on Dreamcast titles. They offer various Dreamcast games like Jet Set Radio, Power Stone 2, Virtua Tennis, and Street Fighter Third Strike, with prices ranging from cool to £55. They also have Universal Dreamcasts, Japanese and UK versions, and import accessories like PAL boosters, memory cards, and mod chips. The advertisement also mentions Japanese Saturn games, Pokemon games, and accessories. Madeira Games promotes PlayStation 2, Dreamcast, N64, Game Boy, and Neo Geo games, alongside code-free DVD players. Console King highlights their online store and additional Dreamcast products, catering to gamers seeking import titles unavailable in mainstream stores. This Dreamcast game directory from issue 11 features a diverse selection. Highlights include Four Wheel Thunder, Crazy Taxi, Dead or Alive 2, Echo the Dolphin, Fur Fighters, House of the Dead 2, MDK 2, NBA 2K, Power Stone, Rayman 2, and Resident Evil, Code Veronica. Some titles like Blue Stinger, ECW, Hardcore Revolution, and NFL Quarterback Club 2000 receive negative reviews. The directory includes genre descriptions and is followed by an advert for the Action Replay CDX cheat device. DVD reviews for Sleepy Hollow and Stigmata are also included, both receiving mediocre scores. Sleepy Hollow is noted for its extras, while Stigmata suffers from poor extras and film quality. A list of the magazine's reviewers concludes the page. This directory highlights Dreamcast game reviews. The CD reviews section features Bentley Rhythm Ace, 3/5, and the Motorhomes, 3/5. Game scores are prominent, with Sega Rally 2 91%, Sonic Adventure 90%, and Soul Calibur 94% leading the pack. Sega Worldwide Soccer 2000 and its Euro edition both scored 92%. Most played features Virtua Tennis. The comics section reviews Buffy the Vampire Slayer 2/5 and Clark's 5/5. The Best of Genre section showcases top titles such as Resident Evil Code, Veronica, Soul Calibur, Crazy Taxi, Choo Choo Rocket, Armada, Tony Hawk's Skateboarding, and Deadly Skies. The summary advises being discerning with game choices. The next page presents an import game directory. It's a listing of import titles for the Dreamcast, games you had to hunt down and import if you were keen to play them before, or instead of UK releases. Amongst them are titles like Aero Dancing F, The Flight Sim, The Brutal Action of Berserk, Biohazard, which is of course Resident Evil in Japan, the frantic puzzle action of Choo Choo Rocket, and beat-em-ups like King of Fighters 99 and Marvel vs. Capcom 2. They even list Typing of the Dead, for something a bit different. Each game entry includes details such as the publisher, player numbers, VM support, online play, useful peripherals like light guns or arcade sticks, the issue number this was featured in, and a rating percentage. On the right-hand side, there's a bold advert shouting, "Read this now, or die." It's for DreamcastAddict.com, promoting it as a free weekly email magazine, promising Dreamcast news, reviews, and cheats. This page is a selection of stuff and nonsense, basically gadgets and gizmos. There are game balls from Tiger Electronics, described as boredom busters for summer holidays. Then there's the Adata B at NK Organizer from Sakar, a digital address book and calculator. Interactive Yoda from Tiger Toys Limited is also featured, a toy that teaches you the ways of the Force. Moving on, there's the SP2400 HiFi from Samsung, a sound system boasting smart media compatibility. The Photo Cube from Room Interior Products is a kitsch photo display case. A crossbow from Flitzbogen is presented as a toy with sticky arrows. For home entertainment, there's the 32 Real Flat TV from Philips, perfect for widescreen Dreamcast gaming apparently. The Comedia C860L digital camera by Olympus promises high-quality digital photos. The U-Turn sports tool from William Profit Design is for skateboard and scooter maintenance. New Hip Hop MP 3 players from Samsung are highlighted as trendy and portable music players. And finally, the SDC 80-color digital cameras, also from Samsung, aimed at the youth market in various bright colors, and the K2 Pro kickboard from Big Boys Toys, described as the must-have cool summer accessory. This page from the late 90s showcases a vibrant gaming scene through various advertisements. Direct Intel offered games and consoles, while DreamBabe.com catered to Dreamcast enthusiasts. SwapServe.com facilitated free game swaps and sales. A reflective piece pondered growing up, followed by a retailer, Toys for the Boys. Cybernet offered mail-order games across multiple platforms. Forbidden Knowledge promised censored information. Joke phone lines provided comedic relief. An ad for Dreamcast Magazine sought advertisers. Telegames dominated with Millennium bargain offers, selling games for multiple platforms, including PlayStation, Saturn, Neo Geo, Jaguar, and even Atari Lynx. They pushed retro titles alongside new releases, like Skyhammer and Worms for the Jaguar. The page overall reflects the diverse gaming landscape of the era. This page is a vibrant advert proclaiming, "Be a Eurostar with a free copy of Choo Choo Rocket." It's pushing Choo Choo Rocket as Europe's first online console game on the Dreamcast, offering a free copy to new Dreamcast owners and existing ones who go online via Dream Arena, Sega's online service. They mention a European Choo Choo Challenge, starting June 9th. It's a very colorful and energetic ad for this frantic puzzle game, showcasing the classic Choo Choo Rocket, mice and couple cat characters that are so instantly recognizable. This page is an advertisement for Dreamcast Magazine itself, highlighting its key selling points. You know, the usual magazine blurb. They're boasting about reviewing every UK, Japanese and American game, promising new cheats and tips each month, and tons of competitions. They claim their reviews are top-notch and that they bring you all the latest news. They're really pushing the line that it's the only Dreamcast magazine you'll ever need. Livin'. Looking ahead to the next issue, they're featuring Jet Set Radio, that graffiti skating game, and Hidden and Dangerous, a World War II squad-based shooter. They're also showcasing some great games available now, which include Space Channel 5 with Ula and her groovy moves, Spirit of Speed, a racing game, Quake 2 Arena for your online fragging fix, and Half-Life, the seminal first-person shooter. The next issue, number 12, is coming out on August 10, 2000. They've got a big Ferrari F355 challenge cover feature too. Looks like they're going in depth on that racing game. This page is a bit of a mixed bag. You've got an advert for Dreamcast Magazine still pushing subscriptions, highlighting the back issues you could grab, issues 1 to 10, covering games like Soul Calibur, Shenmue, Crazy Taxi, and Dead or Alive 2. They're really ramming home the point about subscribing, even offering a game if you go for option 2, with titles like Fur Fighters, Dead or Alive 2, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and Tony Hawk Skateboarding as your choices. Looks like they are really trying to get those subscription numbers up, even offering a game. But the bigger half of the page is actually an advert for DVD Review Magazine, blaring officially the UK's best-selling DVD magazine. It's got Christina Ricci plastered on the front cover, must be around the time of Sleepy Hollow, and a James Bond DVD collection feature too. They are boasting about reviewing 800 UK DVDs, and even stunning us discs. They're really shouting about a free DVD on the cover, 164 pages, and new UK DVDs reviewed and rated, claiming, "The future is here." Down at the bottom, it's pushing features like the best players tested to the limit, in-depth news and features, and top American DVs reviewed. So a bit of a change of pace from Dreamcast games, showing off the shiny new world of DVDs. This page is a software-first advert. They're shouting about being the first for price and range, boasting hundreds of titles and free delivery. It's a proper catalogue of Dreamcast games. They've got everything from Four Wheel Thunder and Arcatera to Zombie Revenge. You can see titles like House of the Dead 2 with Light Gun Bundle, Resident Evil 2 and Veronica, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Virtua Fighter 3 TB, Crazy Taxi, all the big hitters are there. Remidja. They're also pushing accessories, official VMUS, vibration packs, keyboards, even steering wheels like the official race control wheel and Mad Catz MC2 wheel. And right at the bottom they've got these pick-a-pack deals for Dreamcast consoles, Solus, Silver and Gold, All come with Choo Choo Rocket, and then the silver and gold add extras like extra games or a VMU. Over on the left, there's a Dream Moment feature on House of the Dead 2. They're calling it an oldie but a goodie, praising the light gun action against those hordes of zombies and the bosses like Goldman and the Emperor. It's framed as a real arcade experience at home. And at the bottom corner, a little plug for the next issue of Dreamcast Magazine, issue 12, coming out in August 2000.